Okay, so we were just going to read the eulogy from Bob Saget's funeral that was given by John Stamos. So I think this is really quite beautiful. Says, my Bob, I'm not ready to accept that he's gone. I'm not going to say goodbye yet. I imagine him out there, still on the road, doing what he loves with all his heart and humor. He's standing on stage, killing. Another 2-hour set in front of a couple hundred of the luckiest people on the planet. They're laughing so hard that they weep. And just when they catch their breath, he grabs his guitar and slays them with one of his musical closers. There's an encore and another and another. Everyone here wants an encore with Bob. He calls his one true love, Kelly, and tells her about his show. He says he feels 26 again, alive, then asks her to fix up a picture he wants to post. And she says it doesn't need fixing and tells him how handsome he is. He says he loves her with every bit of his heart. And when he gets to the hotel to put his head on the pillow, he misses his daughters, his family, and his friends. God, he loves us all so much. Bob goes to sleep, dreaming of when we'll meet again, and he's smiling. I know in my heart he's smiling, still hearing the laughter from a few hours before. He should still be out there challenging himself creatively, stripping down all the Hollywood bull, traveling to small towns around the country, giving the people raw, wild, unpredictable, and uncensored Saget. Tonight's specials are cake and I don't think we're allowed to say that word. And we're out of cake. When I saw his last Instagram post, my first thought was he looked too alive to die a few hours later. But I guess that's right. We should all want to die alive. We don't want to be filled with regret and remorse, forgotten and discarded. We want to be overwhelmed with the privilege and bounty of doing what we do best. Bob felt young, energized, grateful, and appreciated. The applause and laughter didn't have time to die before Bob did. He never ran out of cake or the other stuff. He died bright and fierce. Personally, I hope to die after a beautiful night of love making with my wife, but I'm glad Bob didn't go that way. As I said, I'd rather he dies after doing what he did best. Sorry, Kelly. That's the kind of joke Bob loved. It's hard to explain who Bob was to me personally without understanding that he's your Bob too. The worldwide ocean of love for him has been unbelievable. Though it's been hard for me to look at the tribute stories, magazine covers, millions of social media posts, I felt everyone out there is getting it right, saying the perfect thing, remembering Bob in those remarkable ways. I just wish he knew how much the world loved him when he was here. I spent many of night trying to convince him of how loved he really was, or maybe it was the other way around, him trying to convince me how loved he was. But that was just Bob bluster. There's no way he thought his death would have this kind of impact. This is the kind of coverage that speaks to someone who genuinely connected with people, and not just for a moment, but for generations. I even saw an article titled "What Bob Saget Meant to Immigrant Kids." It spoke of how he struck a chord among many immigrant children and how they love to speak English from him. Now I adore my Bob Saget, but really? Really? I can just hear a bunch of kids running around saying, I love my mother and you can too for $12. One of the great honors of my life is being associated with him at this moment in time. I've gotten thousands of texts, emails, and calls speaking of our 35-year friendship, telling me how sorry they were for my loss. People have even sent flowers like I lost my wife or something. Come to think of it, when we were together, we were like an old married couple, all bickering, no sex. Last summer, Bob and Dave and I did a personal appearance together. It was high pressure gig dealing with COVID protocol calls and all. And let's remember, Bob played a dust busting neat freak. Typecasting? Yup. So he was extra. Let's call it neurotic. We were a little hard on each other, and poor Dave was smack dab in the middle of it, getting it from both sides as he has been for the last 35 years. I felt terrible and immediately apologized to Bob, but he was surprisingly quiet. I haven't heard from him for a few days, which was a long time not to have heard from Bob. Finally, on my birthday, Bob started texting me like crazy, asking if I'd read his post about me on Instagram. Truthfully, I was a tad over Bob at the moment, but I figured I needed to read it, so he stopped bugging me. This was his post. To say we are like brothers is an understatement. We have been through so much together for 35 years, high, lows, the usual you go through with your closest of people in your life. But what I have to say here and now is how damn lucky I am to have John in my life. He has always been there for me, even when could be unbearable. There is only one John Stamos on this planet, and I am a better person because he's in my life. Happy birthday, dear John. I may just read that every day for the rest of my life. As legend goes, Bob and I didn't really get along when we started Full House. We certainly had different styles of acting and how we approach each scene. His cracking slightly inappropriate jokes that would routinely land him in little meetings with the mothers. But at the same time, he started to display what a brilliant comedic mind he had. Mine, obsessing over every moment and searching for truth, deeper understanding, self-analysis, and personal reflection in each and every hug. Dave just passed gas a lot. It didn't take long for us to meet in the middle and to respect each other professionally and creatively as the years went by. When we started Full House, I was in my 20s and didn't have a care in the world. Hell, my backyard was Disneyland. But life does what it does, and when things came crashing down, the last person on earth I ever imagined would be my rock became just that. When I lost my parents, Bob was there for me like no other. He told dirty jokes and talked about himself as he hosted my dad's funeral. He was there through divorces, deaths, despair, and dark days. He was there through love, marriage, a child, and bright times. He was my lifeline. He loved hard and deep. Cue Bob to make a joke out of the hard and deep. He would do that during tragedies, and honestly, it would piss me off sometimes. That's how we got through the darkness, and sadly, he had a lot of it in his life. Now that I'm dealing with him dying, I sort of get it. Bob loved with everything he had. He taught me to be present with the ones I love. I hope he learned to internalize the love that I felt for him. My wife, Caitlin, who's been extraordinary through all this, my son, Billy, and everyone in my life will benefit from Bob's gift to me every day. Billy will grow up with a depth of love for the rest of his life. On the day of Bob's death, Billy was staring at a picture of Bob and I dressed like women for a shoot for People magazine, replicating Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon from Some Like It Hot. He was squinting his eyes and cocking his head, trying to make sense out of the picture. After a long time, he said, "Dad, who is that?" And I said, "That's your dad and your Uncle Bob in women's clothing." And he said, "Why?" "Well, son, I did it as a tribute to the film. I can't speak for Bob. I pray that Billy will someday have a friend like I had in Bob. And if I see a picture of the two of them in tutus, I'll know it's brotherly love." I grabbed Billy, held on to him as tight as I could, and told him how much I loved him. We don't do justice to Bob's legacy without remembering to hold those we love close as we can and telling them what we feel about them every day. But Bob put it all on the table for us, leaving nothing behind. When the news broke, I broke. I was shattered and felt worthless to help anyone else, but my supportive wife picked me up, threw me in the car, and drove to Bob and Kelly's house. That's what Bob would have done if it were the other way around. I slipped into the backyard by myself. His last cigar was sitting in an ashtray by the jacuzzi. It was windy and balmy. I looked up to the sky and said, "Baby, please give me a sign from up there." I called him baby because that's how he entered his info into my phone years ago. "Tell me you're all right. Tell me not to feel bad." I waited for a few minutes, nothing. Asked again, silence. I was contemplating heaven, hell, and heartbreak when all of a sudden a tiny hummingbird came fluttering down from above and landed on a tree right in front of me. I swear this is true. I even took a little video with my phone. I've always felt hummingbirds represented my parents, and this one was definitely my mother, who had red hair. She had bright red feathers around her neck like a scarf. She assured me Bob was okay and to stop looking for goofy sign. How rude. Then she flew up and away. I want signs from Bob, damn it. I want to be haunted by him. The void is maddening. Then this thought washed over me. Maybe, just maybe, his soul might be at peace. The only reason to rattle and thunder and part clouds is that you are restless in the afterlife, right? That you have unfinished business and haven't said what you needed to say to the ones you love. We all know that's not Bob. Maybe I need to stop looking for Bob in the sky and accept what he just needs to be: peaceful, free, surrounded by the hummingbirds of past souls at rest. I don't need Bob in some other realm. He is in lessons I teach my son and hilarious, dirty stories that my wife and I will laugh at for the rest of our lives. Hell, I can Google him to life and hear him say any time, night or day, and now I can pause or fast forward him, which would have been incredible a few times while he was alive. I've spent days refusing to let him go. But now I'm starting to realize I don't have to. I don't have to say goodbye because he's never leaving my heart. And I will continue to talk to him every day and let him know what he means to me. Bob, I will never, ever have another friend like you. You will always be my best friend. You are my new guardian angel, a guardian angel with the dirtiest mouth and as heart as big and benevolent as forever. I love you, baby. And I just think that's absolutely tremendously beautiful. Like, what a beautiful thing for him to write.
Yeah, I don't think I ever heard anything more beautiful than that. That's for sure. You felt their love.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well
Lulu,
done.
did you want to add anything before we ended it?
I just think, yeah, so text is like very beautiful and yeah, it's yeah, very good.
Yeah, the first time I heard it definitely destroyed me personally. I think um I think it resonates with a lot of us that have lost people, whether it was family or friends. And John just,
Oh, he nailed it.
it was like his soul just fell onto paper.
And I like the idea of Bob putting his information in the phone as baby.
Yeah, that got me too.
I think that just when you think of it like that, or when you think of John Stamos and his son, and he's like, I'm not sure why Bob did it when they were dressed as women. And I just think like those corny jokes were so much of who him and Bob were when you read these little things about their friendship. Like it makes you even love John Stamos more, right? Like, that they were friends, but they had this deep, powerful love for each other. And I just think it's really quite beautiful.
I think one of the things Bob Saget will always be remembered is being America's dad. And I don't know if you guys were like me, but watching Full House growing up and them being raised without a mom, you still wanted to be like a part of that family.
Oh
And
yeah.
like those little girls never went without because of, that show just taught so many lessons. And I saw people tweeting about how they came from broken homes, and Full House was like, it was like their TV family, helped people through tough times, and it taught a lot of lessons.
Oh yeah.
So I think just from that alone, Bob Saget has left his mark forever in our hearts and in the history of television. And he was definitely another comedic genius. And like you said, I hope he's up there chilling with all the greats, man. I
Absolutely.
hope Betty White is, right in the middle of that, like telling them
And
what.
she's probably cracking the worst jokes.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
So, this is just getting awful to say, but rest in peace, Bob Saget, and again, our thoughts and prayers go to his family and friends, and we thank you, Bob, for your unique comedy genius, and being America's dad, and loving the way you did. I think we could all learn from you there. So
Absolutely.
love you, Bob Saget, and we miss you.
Absolutely.